These are my 3 gutters I'm going to use for the hybrid hydroponic I was talking about. The return is going to be here, like I mentioned in the previous video. But because debris could potentially return to the line, I've taken and modified this a little bit. I added a net cup and some landscape filter to block debris. And I'll show you what that looks like once I get through wrapping it. Wrap job complete. That should provide a barrier against debris. And then one where the pump is should as well be a secondary. So try to keep the pump from clogging. Okay, hydroponics are set up in the greenhouse now. I don't want to show you my setup, but first I want to tell you that I set all this up with in the middle of a lot of rain, and so she's not real clean yet. She's kind of work in progress, but I've been really busy. I've been doing a lot of stuff in here. So first I'll take you to the nutrient tank. And the nutrient tank is got a pump in there. I can't remember the brand. It's just your basic $22 pump. I think it flows like 300 gallons an hour or something like that. And you can see the little T there. That's a return. And then just to the right of the T is the float. And the float provides topping off of the nutrients from my former rain barrel system. And I'll show you that in a minute. The pump is wired to a timer. And the timer comes on from 7 in the morning till I think 8 o'clock at night, maybe 9 o'clock at night, and it comes on for 15 minutes every hour. And yes, I do have power run to the greenhouse along with a fan. That's what this switch is. It's on the vent at the end. And that carries out a little extra heat. I'll turn it off for the purpose of the video. I've also got a plug over here in case I need it later. So the first 3 are the first 3 rows, if you want to call them rows, are the hybrid system I'd put in a previous video. And they are totally hydroponic. That means that the pump is pumping nutrient through the hose there. It comes up these lines, goes to a dripper, which goes down into the perlite. And each one of these rows has 6 tomato plants, and well, there's an eggplant at the end of this one, and there's a pepper at the end of that one. So I just want to do a little comparison of pepper and eggplant too. In between each bucket, if you remember from the previous video, are areas to grow lettuce or pak choi or something along those lines. And it kind of acts like a, let's see if I can get one up here. Yeah, you see it's got the net cup there, and the reservoir stays at a certain level, and it provides a system similar to the cracky method, I suppose, and that's why I call it a hybrid. You got a drip system and a standard no movement type cracky method. We'll call it that. I'm not sure what to call it really. But the buckets, as they drip into the reservoir, and it's my hope, and I'm sure they do, they break the surface of the water and they generate some minor bit of aeration along with the return of the pump, and hopefully that'll help improve the growing of the little net cups in between the buckets. Okay, this particular row is the 4 big beef, which are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 2 on the end are Brandy Boy, and that's my hydroponic versus self-watering container. I'll talk about that in a minute. That's on this row. And so those 3 rows, supplied by the pump in the nutrient tank over there, pumped through these lines, through emitters, 15 minutes every hour. And that's enough to fill up this reservoir. And it almost acts like an ebb and flow in a way too, because it returns back a little slower than it pumps in. These 3, not to mention the 3 new self-watering platforms that are sitting in between these 2. These 3 are self-watering container types, and this row right here, besides the pepper at the end, are the self-watering container versus hydroponic vegetables or tomatoes, and these are the 2 Brandy Boys, and then you got the 4 big beef here. Now, if you just take a look at these 2 rows right here, I put them side by side, hydroponic, self-watering container, just so you can see the difference so far. And these plants really have been through a lot. I mean, they've basically been starved, sitting outside and everything else since the very first time I transplanted them into the buckets, and yet they're still doing pretty good. I guess that's a sign of the hybrid, how vigorous the hybrids are. Maybe not. Anyway, I've got some over here that are heirlooms, and they're not doing quite as good as the hybrids. Anyway, so those are the self-watering container portion of the self-watering container versus hydroponics. These 2 are self-watering containers with various things in them. I'm going to try 4 single stems. Last year I did 2 tomato plants in each one with double stem, and I'm going to try 4 single stems in this one, and I'm going to try 2 single stems in this one. I'm going to try a double stem here. There's another eggplant, and I've got some carrots and something else here that's pretty pitiful. But now that they've got some nutrient in the reservoir here, we'll see if they pick up the pace. These 4 are going to be something else. I haven't decided yet. These were the peas that I had on the deck. I polished those off and I put them back out here. Now my nutrient is supplied behind here, and it's my former rain barrel catchment area that was on the side of the house in the previous years, and what they serve as now, at least for now, is 150 gallons of nutrient, and they're plumbed together, and gravity, they're up high, so gravity will feed them. Not only does it feed a line all the way down to the nutrient tank, which pumps to the hydroponic, it also feeds the 3 self-watering containers, and it's also going to feed the 3 new self-watering containers, which will probably do some beans or something like that. Now, the nutrient in this particular case is Master Blend tomato formula with calcium nitrate, magnesium sulfate, more or less like MHP Gardner uses for his hydroponic tomatoes. And my thoughts were, okay, well, I don't want to create a second type of reservoir and put like Miracle-Gro or some other fertilizer in it like I've done previous years with self-watering containers. So I decided to keep it simple and use one nutrient to supply both self-watering containers and hydroponic. So basically, one is static, self-watering containers that pull nutrient from the bottom, from these gutters, to a drip system. And that's pretty much it for the hydroponic setup. And I hope things will pick up a good bit, even though we're getting into the really hot part of the year. Here it's been in the 90s today, and it's not going to get any better. But anyway, this is the self-watering containers, the hydroponics, and the greenhouse in the works.